Welcome to lesson 6.1 on organizing data. We're going to be talking about how to organize data, and I'm going to show you a few different ways in which you can organize data. The first thing I want to talk about is our objective. How do we display and interpret data to better improve our understanding? So how can we organize it enough to make it easier for us to understand? So let's get started. Our objective, it says, we will be reviewing data landmarks and methods for organizing data. There are many ways to organize data in our lesson. I will show you a couple different ways to do that. What I have right here is I have a line, and it's called a line plot. And how do I plot the information? And I kind of want to show you just an easy way in which we do this. And basically, I go through the numbers, and the nice thing about this is all the numbers are in order for me already. So I have a 1, so I'd put an X above the 1. And on this, in this particular one, I'm gonna have to try to write a little bit smaller. And how many 2's do I have? Well, I have 2. So I would put 2 X's above the 2. Okay, and then I cross those off. And then how many 3's do I have? And I have 1 3 and 1 4. Okay, and so on. So hopefully this is making sense to you. Now, obviously, as you go, you're going to have even more of them. Now, maybe some of you have seen a line plot like this. I'm not exactly sure. Oops, I'm moving the whole thing. Sorry. Okay, so then I would cross off the 3 and the 4. And then I'd have 2 5's. And again, you know, I like the X's because that's how you do a line plot. Then I cross off my 5's, and then the next one I'd have 3 6's, and so on. So that is what is called a line plot, and it works pretty well. It's one way of organizing data. Now, it takes some time, but when it's organized like this, it's easy because all the numbers are in order. So that works out really good. So as you can see, we just go through and do all the numbers and plot them by using X's. Okay, so let's move on to the next page. All right, so now we have another system. This is called like a tally chart, and my data is over here at the right. So you can see my data over here. And what I do is I go through each line, and I see I have a 1. So I'd go over to the 1 over here, and I'd put a check behind it. And there's a 1. And then I go over here, and I cross it off. And I have a 3, so I put a check behind the 3. And a 5 and a 7. Okay, now you can do tally marks also. This is just one way of doing it with the check marks. And I have an 11. So I'd go down here and I'd check the 11. Oh, and now I have another 3. I put a check there, and I have a 9. And you kind of see the pattern here and how you're supposed to do this. But this is another way of organizing data. And they call it like a tally or a check mark. And it works really good. Otherwise, there's another way too. You definitely can make tally marks, and that works too by going over here, and I could just put a couple lines and keep adding to it too, because there's tally marks there as well. So that works out really well too. So that's another way to organize data. So let's talk about the next. Now we have here a chart, and what are we going to do with this chart? Okay, in our journal pages, we are going to talk about how many states you've visited. And in the states, we're going to see how many states have each of you visited, not your parents, but you individually. How many states have you gone to? So with this, along the side, you can see I have a graph here, and I have number of students along the side, and on the bottom, I have number of states visited. Now we would want to graph this. Now, obviously you see 6 or more students. Well, obviously we have many more than 6 or more. So normally we could have a graph that had like 25, 27, however many students there were. That would work out easy too. And it says, what math concepts or vocabulary can we use to analyze this data? Well, there's all kinds of different concepts that we've learned, different ways of graphing and analyzing data. Analyzing in itself is a vocabulary word. What does it mean to analyze? It means to look at things very closely. So now if I were marking this graph, if I were marking it, I would want to, if I had one student that visited one state, I would shade in this one here. I would shade it in. And then, or I could put an X, whatever's easiest, okay? Now, number of states visited, if I had four students that visited 2, I'd go up here to this box over here and I'd shade it in. So, as you can see, it's kind of, it's just another way of graphing. All right, now, on this page, it'll make a little more sense to you when we're looking at the journal page. So it says states adults have visited. So you and your classmates each recorded the number of states an adult has visited. As the numbers are reported, your teacher records them. Write them in the space below. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to find out from a parent or a grandparent or a friend, an adult, how many states they've been to. Okay, now, and then we're going to record all of that data. So we'll have 27 different numbers or some that may be the same. And then it asks, how will you organize this data to make it easier to understand? So we could draw a line plot to organize the data. How does the line plot help a viewer see what is important about the data? Now that is another way to do it, is to organize it. And then we have down here, record the landmarks. So the minimum, which obviously is the smallest again. The maximum is the largest. The mode, what number appears most often? And the median. And then we'd have to figure out the middle number by putting them in order and crossing off. As you can see, data can be used in a lot of different ways, and it can be collected and recorded in many different ways. So we're gonna look at all the student data and all the adult data. So you actually have one little assignment, and your assignment is actually to figure out how many states your parent or an adult has visited. So let's go back to our page now and see if we've answered that. How do we display?
I'm supposed to tell you.
So how do we display and interpret data to better improve our understanding? And then we look back at our objective. We will be reviewing data landmarks and methods for organizing data. And we did this several different ways. We did it by doing a line plot. We did it by doing tallies or a check marks. And then we had a graph also. And we'll talk more about this graph later. And we'll talk about some vocabulary that goes with this lesson as well. So thanks for listening. Remember to do your quiz, and we will review in class on Friday, because our days are off.